than right now. Uh, so again, who is for the first time on the event? 1, 2, 3. So for you and for others maybe as well. Let me just. So what London Java Community is about? London Java Community has been founded like 17 years ago by Barry, who is also owner of Records, which I'll talk about later. Main reason is the statement is to serve the Java software engineers in London by organizing events, which we are on one of those right now. We will have Unconference, which is most likely second week of July. It's like whole day event in the format that you basically organize it. You come with agenda, what you want to talk about. There will be like board where you put sticky on it with your proposals. If people are interested, you go to the room and have 45 minutes to talk. It's a great event, quite great networking occasion, and also it's an opportunity not only to listen but also to have a say. We have a Slack channel. If you go to again, I forgot the link, but if you go to London Java Community website, there is like form which you can fill and join the channel. So for example, this is another way to learn about our events because we post over there. Some discussions are going there. We use for communication with all the members. We are also contributing to open source projects, not as much as in the past years, but we are still active in, for example, I'm involved in Jakarta EE, which I will talk about today, and also less, but still, for example, Adoptium. Who knows about Adoptium? The Marine is one of the most popular Java builds. So basically, it has been initiated by London Java Community. We have also sister communities such as Vita Mentor. You can find mentors or mentees. Aspiring speakers, which if you want to try to speak, there are a few people who can running very well this community where you can find again the mentor who will help you with speaking career. Last week at DevOps, as every year, we have a session on one of the biggest conferences, which actually some members of aspiring speaker community have their first public speaking session. Went really well. I haven't got a chance to attend this, but I heard great stories about how it went. So yeah, we do a lot of the things. And moving on to today's meeting, hosted in Metro Bank. I don't see now anyone from Metro. You guys both, thank you for hosting us. As I always say, without companies as yours, there won't be community as ours because we are free for our members and we actually need companies who support us. And we have two talks today. First will be Simon, who is developer but also a parent, and he tried to apply lessons from his parenting to managing teams. So I'm interested how many of you are parents as well. Yeah, so let's see how it goes. I'm parent as well, but my kids quite grow up, so for me it's probably too late to learn anything about parenting. And the second speaker will be me, which I will talk about Jakarta EE. Probably that's all I can say now. A bit more about these meetups. They are community events for community members, run by community members. So the success is in your hands. I always ask, just if you all have something to talk about, just submit your session over there, and you don't even know where you will speak on one of our events. As a proof of that, I am one of the proofs. I am not a professional speaker. I'm really bad at it. So you will see today like someone who aspiring to be a speaker give a talk. Yes, so don't be afraid. You don't have to be very experienced. Doesn't have to be full session. That can be 15 minutes, wherever you think you are comfortable to talk. Just submit. This event was created for you. Uh, as I already mentioned, session is recorded. We try to stream. It's not really popular yet, but the main reason why we record the session is to give feedback to the speakers. As for me, for example, the best way to learn is basically watch myself, which I hate, and see what's wrong I'm doing. Uh, from the last week DevOps, I learned. So when I organize now, I have like for the event, I have like the docs on Google Docs where I keep all the tasks. But I learned from other community organizer last week that they use GitHub for that. I really like that idea, so I will open source our events as well. So if you want to contribute, this is kind of like just I create the GitHub account today. Yeah. So to be honest, nothing is really yet there, but this would be the place where we can all contribute to LJC. Feedback. You can scan the QR code. There is also a link to the form. Please give us a feedback because without feedback, we don't really know what you like, what you don't like. It's only 4 questions, uh, just few words. If you like it, what would you improve? Really, that means a lot. I always share with the speakers what you say, and yeah, this if you want to start contributing to the community, this is probably the one of the easiest way and very impactful way to help us. That's actually how I start my journey with LGC. Yes, the first my contribution was basically giving feedback. Yes, as I said, we were at DevOps last week. Here are a few pictures from the event. I really like this one. It's like we are tech community, but this really pick up. It was great idea by Wojtek. Uh, just give people like they write some messages in the book. Yeah. So we actually, because Marcus, one of the people who helped us, he is in Germany now, although the conference, and he took home all the stuff from the desk at the end of the conference. So we don't have it, but this is the idea which we actually will bring every event that book for speakers, for other members, us to actually put something over there. Another event, which I also mentioned, like is aspiring speakers. Yes, it will be 3rd of July, 10 to 15 minutes. I have few proposals already, but still, if not this event, I see there is quite a lot of demand on this. So definitely we organize more in the future. Next week, there is another event, this time in Elman's office. Please sign up. The lineup looks amazing. Yes, so Simon, Andre, they are very experienced speakers, developers as well. Yes, so please sign up. Next is about event supporters. Again, Metro Bank, thank you for having us. I hope we can collaborate more in the future, and this is the first of many. Also, RecWorks is behind LGC, as I mentioned. LGC has been founded by Barry, who is also founder of RecWorks. They are a recruitment company. So if you are hiring or looking for the job, just let's come to me, and then I can direct you to them. And final slide now is this is our sponsors. Again, these are companies which support us. As I mentioned, for example, there is no free cookie, even free, but for example, if we want to contribute to open source projects, there are some costs associated. So we can do it. Thank you to these companies. Yes, they pay like yearly fee, and we use it for community basically. Yes. So that's all from me. Now we have few minutes for someone from Metro to introduce. I don't think we will record that. Yes, Wojtek, or will you just continue streaming, or what do you want to do with this Metro introduction? Yeah, so let's stop. We'll continue streaming, yes, for a few minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming. So there's the London Java community. I used to go along probably 20 years ago.
Everyone can remind me not to go beyond this and not to go beyond this. So I'm going to try and remember. I also have a bit of a quiet voice. Apologies in advance. Maybe that's a good thing. But hi, I'm Simon. I help happier staff deliver better things sooner, and you can hear me twice, which is good. So I want to talk about effective management. And the reason that this is so close to my heart is that management is a discipline that's been around for over 100 years, since World War I. But still, when you're promoted into management, you're thrown into the deep end. And I don't know about you, but I have a son of 9 months, and I feel like I've been thrown in the deep end. The reason I want to talk about effective management and parenting in the same breath is because, for two reasons. Firstly, there's some remarkable similarities between the two. And secondly, we can all relate to parenting. Some of us have been parents, but all of us have been children. So there's only really three things I want to talk about. First of all, what's so difficult? Secondly, I want to tell you a story about parenting, and in doing so, introduce you to two thinking tools. And then I want to apply the same thinking tools to management to show that they can apply there too. Three disclaimers. Firstly, as I go through, I'm going to ask you questions. That's not to test you. That's to test me to make sure I'm conveying the material in a way that makes sense. Secondly, all the good ideas in this presentation come from other people, including my mentor, my father, all these wonderful people, my family. All the bad ideas are mine and mine alone. And finally, the reason I'm talking about management and parenting in the same breath is not because you should treat your staff as kids or your kids as staff. As my friend and mentor says, we need to treat them both as human beings with their own wants and needs. It's just because there's some similarities that I think will become clear later on. So let's talk about, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about what's so difficult first. And as I do that, I'm going to first talk about parenting, what I think is so difficult about it, and I'm going to tell you what I think is so difficult with management. The list is going to be very short. It's not going to be exhaustive, but hopefully there's some things there that will resonate. So from my perspective, from a parenting perspective, as I already said, it feels like we're thrown in the deep end. What to do isn't obvious. At least it wasn't to me. Maybe it was to you, Martin. What works isn't obvious. It'll be months or years probably before what I've done today with my son, I'll know whether it's the right thing for him or not. And we're often given advice that feels wrong. It just doesn't always gel with our beliefs, and we don't know what to do with it. Management, thrown into the deep end. We're promoted into it. What to do is not obvious. What works is not obvious. We may not know for months or years whether what we did for one member of staff was the right thing, whether we harmed or helped them. And we're given advice that feels wrong. It feels kind of similar. And so the question I have, first question for you is, why do these very different things seem to present such similar challenges? Generally, everyone's really shy at this point. That's okay. That's okay. I'm pretty shy too.
You're dealing with human beings.
So, human beings?
Because you're dealing with human beings.
We're dealing with human beings? Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's nice opening it.
Yeah, it's the same. It's just two people problem. Yeah.
It's a people problem? Yeah, yeah. I like that. Human beings? I thought I had something. Trying to nurture people? Yeah. Oh, like this. It's good. This, yeah, feels like it's getting closer. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Lack of previous experience.
Lack of previous, definitely for me. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's different. It's a different ballgame. Yeah. Okay. I like this. People nurturing different. And experience. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Julie Cho from the former VP design of Facebook said, "Your job as a manager is to get better outcomes from a group of people working together." Keywords: get better outcomes from a group of people working together, i.e., help others succeed. Right. And as we come back to this, I think that's just what this is, right? Both parenting and managing are about helping others succeed. And as parents, we must help our kids succeed. As managers, we need to help our staff succeed. And it sounds really obvious, but we're not them. We're not directly experiencing this situation. We can't directly control them. So whilst it's obvious for us to know what we need in any given situation to be successful, it's not obvious what other people need from us for them to be successful. And also, we can't control them. They're not marionettes. They're not avatars in video games. I wish sometimes they were, but they're not. We can tell them what to do, but firstly, we waste their initiative, their creativity. Secondly, we'll burn out, especially if our family gets bigger or our teams get bigger. And thirdly, they probably won't listen anyway. So what has helped us succeed in the past won't help us help others succeed in the future. So recap. If managers and parents must now create conditions for others to succeed, then they no longer directly control or experience the situation, and therefore it's now less obvious what might be helpful or unhelpful. And therefore, I believe to be effective, parents and managers need to discern helpful from unhelpful. That's what I want to try and help with today. Right, okay. So now I want to tell you a story. So if we want to discern helpful from unhelpful, hopefully the story will start to help. So a lot of this comes from Alfie Kohn, who's a child psychologist. A lot of it may seem quite exaggerated. Unfortunately, I think it's quite realistic. I'm going to word everything in first person because everything described here, I can see myself doing in a couple of years when my boy's a little bit older. Right, so imagine a situation where my kid's lying, he's acting out at school, he's resolving conflicts using power, and he's not able to develop his moral compass. He's not making decisions that feel moral to me as a parent. Before I take this as my problem to solve, if this was your kid, what would you do?
Nominate for president.
Nominate for That's close to home. I like that. Anything else? try to understand. I like that.
Ask your father.
Ask
Ask your father what they do.
Ask my father what he does. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I've done that already. Yeah, absolutely. Any others?
Punish him.
Punish him? Yeah. No, there's done. It's done. Just it's not man-ish. Yeah. Anything else? Cool. Okay. Right. So I'm going to introduce you to the first thinking tool, which is the current reality tree. It's just a causality diagram. The way to read it is an arrow is an if clause. So if the lamp is not plugged in, then the lamp will not turn on. And a circle is an and clause. So if it is raining and if I'm outside, then I'll get wet. Very simple, very straightforward. These are all the observations. And even if we just stare at these for long enough, we can start to see some cause and effect relationships. So for example, if my kid resolves conflicts using power, yeah, he's probably going to act out at school, right? But also, if I'm not always present to be my kid's moral compass, particularly when he's at school, and if my kid isn't able to develop his moral compass, I'm not always there to compensate for that, then when he's at school, when I'm not there to be his moral compass, he's probably going to act out, right? And also, as you can already tell, my kid doesn't make good decisions. And if that's the case, then I'm going to tell him what to do, because I really want him to have a good life. And if he's making bad decisions, he may not get there. And if I tell my kid what to do, but it's decisions that exercise moral judgments, then he's not going to be able to develop his moral compass. I'm robbing him of the ability to exercise his moral judgment. Also, if I tell my kid what to do, and I need my child to comply with what the decision I made for them, but he has his own desires, he's his own person, now I'm going to need to punish him when he doesn't do as I say. I've gone through all the effort of making a decision for him. He needs to do it now, right? So if I punish my kid when he doesn't do as I say, and punishments are designed to be undesirable, then my kid is going to get really good at focusing on avoiding punishment. And what's a really good way of avoiding punishment? Yeah. Lying is a really good method of avoiding punishment. So he's going to lie. I'm encouraging him to lie. Also, if I punish my kid when he doesn't do as I say, and punishment models power as a valid solution to conflict, oh, that's probably why he's bullying people. I'm his role model. If I'm seeing him acting out at school, and I'm seeing him lie, oh man, he's really not making good decisions. I'm going to have to tell him what to do even more often. And it's a downward spiral. It's self-perpetuating. Alfred Cohn puts it really well. He says, the more the strategy fails, the more we assume the problem is with the child rather than the strategy itself. Right, second question. Would tackling any of the symptoms directly have helped? Those things up there. Seeing a few head shakes. Any other views? Treat the cause, not the symptom? I'm a fan of that. You can tell. Yeah. Any other views? That help me learn as well. When, yeah, I like it.
Like they make wrong decisions. Like they lesson from mistakes.
So?
Let's them make mistake.
Ah, yeah. Which I'm not really allowing, am I? Yeah, I like that. Cool. Okay, I like this. So my belief is no. Look, everything we're seeing is a perfect reaction to my initial action, which is punishing my kids, as opposed to letting them make mistakes. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets, right? So one other question, I'll give you a break for a little while, I promise after this one. Knowing what you know now, where would you focus your action? So if I could give you a magic wand or some magic thing and you could point to any one box on this diagram to make this woeful tale unwind, where would you point it? Shy?
One on the right, I'm not always well.
This one? Yeah. This one. Okay. Any other takers? We've got one vote here. Any other votes? Tell my kid what to do. Got a vote here. Got one vote here. One vote here. Any other votes? I'm interested in this one. So when you say this one, as in, tell me more about your thinking.
So I'm thinking that if, like, leading by example rather than
Okay.
showing,
Oh, I see.
what the model thing is to.
Gotcha.
Kids or anyone imbibes more from what you're doing rather than what you say.
Oh, I see. So showing a good role model through the action. Okay, right, thank you. Anything else? Anything else? Or
In that box, I would tell my kids how to inspire my kids.
Hmm?
How
Cool.
rather than not other.
Perfect. Thank you. So you agree with you also vote. I've got 2 votes for this one, and you've kind of suggested a potential injection to kind of swap that around. Okay, I like that. Thank you. Cool. Okay. Let me move forward. Yeah, I'm curious about this one too. I'm curious about this one. I like this one, but I'm kind of curious about one click backwards because it seems that everything seems to come from this. It seems to be like the starting point for all these things. That makes sense. So yeah, I like all this. Right. So why do I tell my kid? This one's rhetorical. Don't worry. Why do I tell my kid what to do? This is an important question for me because I obviously do this for a reason, and this is where I kind of talk about myself, which is weird. But I obviously do this for a reason. I obviously have a need or a goal that I'm trying to satisfy by doing that. And as consultants to an organization or counselors to a family, for you to be able to suggest an alternative method of achieving what they need, for them to consider it, you need to understand what they're trying to achieve in the first place. Otherwise, you can't find an alternative. So I'm really curious about my future self, why I do this. Yeah, if that makes any sense. Right, so recap. The current reality tree, as we just saw, the causality diagram, is a way of tracing back from symptoms to underlying cause. Focusing anywhere that isn't an underlying cause leads to only temporary improvement at best. Those things at the top, you all kind of were like, oh, I don't know if I can do anything about those things. It's too late. In this case, making all decisions for my kid is impairing his ability to make good decisions in the future. So why did I make all decisions for my kid? I'll come back to that. I want to talk about conflicts for a second. This will connect, I promise. And when I say conflict, I mean you have an either-or decision. You can't choose both things. It's one or the other. And so this could be an internal conflict in your head, like should I lend my kid my car or not? He's 9 months old, so I probably won't. It could be a disagreement with someone else as well, a conflict with someone else. Do I keep my kid in school or do I homeschool him? As a country, should we engage austerity measures or not? It's kind of either or decisions, just to frame it. So this is my imaginary conflict that I'm probably going to have with my wife in 2 years, where she's like, well, you should let your son make decisions. I'm like, well, no, I just tell him what to do. And there's a conflict here. We can't do both. We can do one or the other. And so the compromise, which is often what we settle into, is, well, my wife will probably give my kid freedom, our kid freedom, whilst I'm more strict. Therefore, my kid's going to learn. He's always going to go to my wife when he wants something. I'm going to argue with my wife saying, why are you being so lenient? And everyone's not getting what they want. Everyone's upset, right? And Ellie Goldberg puts it really well. He says, our fear that conflicts will lead to a tug of war diverts management and parents' attention to instead constantly struggle with unacceptable compromises, lose-lose situations. But really, every conflict can be removed. And so the question I have here is, the starting point is, do we have the same or different goals? Same goal. I had same. Why? I like that. I like that. I like that very much. Yeah, same goal, different ways. I like that. Any other different views? Ooh, different goals. Tell me more.
The wife is trying to say that let the child develop their own path to life, their own decisions.
Yeah.
Telling him what to do.
Yeah.
You are taking that growing thing away. So these are two different goals. Right?
Ooh.
One person is trying to maybe give him initial path.
Yeah. Oh, I like that too.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. And yeah, I don't disagree with that either. I think I think they're both compatible in that. I mean, I would say that I'm talking about conflicts here, and you've both got different views, and I love them. In that, there's intermediate goals, and then there's final, more final goals. And so yeah, I agree with the intermediate goal. The way is in conflict here, but the ultimate objective, we go ask why one more time, I think feels compatible. And let me come back to that though. I really like these views. Thank you. So Joseph Graney says, by focusing on higher, longer-term goals, so the goal of the goal in this case, you often find ways to transcend short-term compromises. Not only does it give you the energy to try and find it together, if you both realize you're aiming for the same thing, but if you both are in agreement on the destination, it's just trying to understand why you've picked different routes. So let's ask my imaginary wife. Well, my wife isn't imaginary, I don't think, but in 2 years, the imaginary conflict, why my wife says, let him make decisions. So she would say, have a happy family. So very close to what you said. Have a happy family. And in order to have a happy family, she wants to ensure our kid has a fulfilling life, because our kid's happiness makes me happy. And in order to ensure our kid has a fulfilling life, we need to let him make decisions, because autonomy helps our kid find and become the person he wants to be, similar to what you said right about the map. So I think you're around here, and you're around here. Right? And if you then ask me in 2 years, why am I telling my kid what to do? I'd say, well, I want to have a happy family. But I really kind of want an easier life. In order to have a happy family, I want an easy life for myself. Because parenting's hard. But also, in order to have an easy life for myself, I need to tell my kid what to do, because it's easier to tell my kid how to behave than to teach him how to behave. And that's my logic. So the funny thing is, we're both going for the same goal. We've both got the same destination in mind. We just pick different routes to get there that are in conflict. So if we both got the same goal in mind, the same destination, but we've got different routes in mind, it just means that our assumptions about the route there must be an assumption that's incorrect. If she thinks that road is easier, but I think this road is easier, obviously our understanding of the terrain is slightly different. So these are the assumptions that underpin each side of the argument. And the great thing is, let me just do this quote first. Lisa Scheinkopf says, people hurt organizations do not improve due to our carelessness in the use of the word because, i.e., because we don't question our assumptions. We don't question our assumptions, we don't surface and debug them and find the one that's incorrect. We'll forever be in conflict. Even though we've got the same goal, we've got to be in conflict about how to achieve it, the means, the way. But if we can find an incorrect assumption here, then this dissolves, this evaporates. One side evaporates, and we can both be on the same route together. That makes sense. We'll do it together. But to do it together, can anyone see an invalid assumption here? Yeah.
So what I noticed, that's what I'm saying. Give him a possible, but then there's this other part to teach him how to behave. Find out. Because there's like not a thing. Doing that instead of teaching how to behave. So none of you are doing that.
Oh, I see. So I'm choosing this because of this. Does that make more sense? So this is my assumption, and that's why I do this.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's an assumption there that the right answer is the third option, how to behave. But none of you are doing.
Oh, forgive me. So this bit isn't necessarily in conflict with what my wife wants. It's the action. So these are the actions. Thank you for asking the question. This shows me how I can convey it better. So thank you. So these are the actions. It's the actions that are in conflict, but the reasons behind it are not necessarily in conflict. So it's not that my wife doesn't want my son to learn. And in fact, autonomy is a great way of learning as long as it's safe, because he can make mistakes and go, oh, that wasn't what I expected. Oh, that's interesting. Difference between reality and expectations is learning. So it's not necessarily it's just the actions that are in conflict, if that makes sense. What I'm curious about, these actions are underpinned by these assumptions. And if we can find one of these assumptions that's incorrect, then we don't need to do this action anymore, or this action anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Having easier life yourself is not the right assumption. Just telling a child what to do, you may not have an easier life later on.
You're a pro. I like this. Okay. Any other views? Yeah.
I would say because of the things that been working with.
So which one? Which one was that?
Because our kids have been able to answer the reason, which is the assumption.
I see. Well, I hope this will all be true. it is for my wife. That's an interesting one. Okay. This one I do want to poke. So thank you. That was very engaging. This one is interesting. As you said, right? This might be true in the short term, but is it true in the future? Is it easier to tell my kid how to behave when he's 20, when he's 30, when he's 50? Is it easier for me to pick his underwear when he's 50 years old? I don't think so. I think we both lose.
Anything past 30, you
Yeah. Well, I hope not. I don't want to be doing something past 13, exactly. And Peter Senge says that short-term improvement often leads to long-term dependency. If I keep picking my son's underwear every single day, I'm going to have to keep doing that in the future. And that doesn't sound like an easy life for him, for me, for my wife. It sounds pretty horrible for everyone. So this one I disagree with. But the thing is, if this isn't valid, then I don't need to do this, because it's not actually giving me what I think it's going to give me. So I don't need to do that anymore. And the great thing is, we can both do the same thing. And in order to have an easier life myself, I can let my son make decisions, because the more decisions he makes, the less decisions I need to make, as you said. Absolutely. Right. So in families and organizations, we're all generally working to the same goal. We just need to maybe think the goal, the goal, the goal, the goal, the goal. But we all generally get to the same point. Conflicts therefore arise generally in disagreements on how to reach the same goal, how to get there, the way. And accepting compromise means everyone loses, whereas finding an incorrect assumption creates a win-win solution. An evaporating cloud is what we just used. It's a way of debugging the assumption. Bob, cool. Okay. So now let's take those two tools and apply it to a management situation. Same thing again, but this time I'll do it. You've been just to save you a little bit of breath if you want. So same kind of way, same kind of thing. These are observations, right? If we have a call center, customers are frustrated, costs are increasing, agent attrition is high, call volumes are increasing. I'm going to treat all the questions as rhetorical just to save you a little bit of mental juice at 7 p.m. on whatever today is, Tuesday. So if you're in a call center and it's on fire with all these things, that's pretty scary, right? So let me just do what a typical what we talk to do as managers or management consultants, right? What I would do is I'd say, okay, right, if customers are frustrated, I'm going to improve agent training. Because if agents are better on the phone, then customers are going to come away happier, right? If costs are increasing, I'm just going to have a higher increase. That solves the problem straight away. If agent attrition is high, I'm going to introduce a retention bonus. I'll keep them around a bit longer, bless you. Bless you. If call volumes are increasing, I'm going to hide the call center number in the smallest writing, the most obscure web page on our site. Because then less people will call, unless they're absolutely desperate. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those suggestions, I'm going to rank them by cost efficiency versus impact. I'm going to take the top 3 and then implement them in order, right?
So you should definitely add very annoying chatbots.
Oh, yeah, AI. Oh, AI. AI. Thank you. Number 4. Probably number 1 will be AI. Thank you. Oh, Jan. Yeah. Sorry?
Ultimate at the beginning, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, automate everything and AI. Yeah, thank you. I missed that. Yeah. But the funny thing here is, if we improve agent training, that comes at a cost, right? It's not free. Also, if we institute a hiring freeze, then if we have a lot of high call volume and we don't have as many, we don't have enough staff, then customers are probably going to be waiting for a little bit longer, or at least for a long time. They're going to be frustrated. And if we introduce a bonus, that's a cost. And if we hide the call center number, I don't know about you, but I get very frustrated by that. And by the time I talk to someone, I'm not going to be happy silent. So I don't know about you, but it just feels like we're doing this. We're just shifting the effects of problems around. We're not solving any problems. And Russell A. Coppins really realizes managers are not confronted with problems that are independent of each other, but instead problems that interact with each other. And managers don't solve problems, they manage messes. Luckily, you all know how to deal with messes, and with the current reality, right? So problems we observe are often just symptoms of an underlying cause. Attempting to tackle symptoms in isolation will often just push the effects elsewhere. It's better to find and tackle an underlying cause using current reality, right? We did that with our kid. Why can't we do it in a business? So again, line up our observations, stare at it for a while. There's often some cause and effect relationships. These are some other observations I just didn't mention. But if we stare at this for a while, we can start to see, well, if customers are frustrated, they're probably going to go to our competitors. And also, if agent attrition is high and hiring and training agents is costly, our costs are going to increase for that reason. And if agent absenteeism, if the agent absence is high, then we need more agents, and we need more agents to cover that absenteeism. Well, for another reason why costs are going to increase. But often call centers are a cost to minimize. That's how they're framed. They're often framed as cost centers. And if that is the case, then what we'll do is try and incentivize agents to keep calls short, because then they can go bam, 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 cover more calls in any given period, and we need less of them, right? But if each customer and issue is unique, then the time needed per call will vary. And if we're trying to encourage agents to put the phone down quickly, then often customers are going to need to call back several times to resolve any one issue. And also, the flip side of that is that agents are going to be less able to resolve customer issues. It's like two sides of the same coin. If customers need to call back several times to resolve any one issue, they're going to be frustrated. Also, if customers must call back several times to resolve any one issue, call volumes are going to increase, right? We've inflated it artificially. And John calls this failure demand. It's caused by the failure to do something or do something right for the customer. It's not real demand. It's just that you didn't do it right the first time, so they're going to call back. And so whilst it looks like call volume's increasing, really it's just failure increasing. And if call volume's increasing, we need more agents, and it's costly to hire agents. Well, costs are going to increase for another reason. If agents are less able to resolve issues, well, they're going to feel disengaged. Why am I here? I need to put the phone down quickly, and these customers aren't happy. So why would they come to work? What's their purpose? They're going to feel pretty rotten. And if costs are increasing, it's going to further encourage us to try and minimize costs to get a downward spiral again. Where would you focus your action? Well, everything seems to be coming around here, doesn't it? Right, so recap. The current reality tree, you know this, you can sing this with me if you want. But the interesting thing is that failure demand is often 50% in most organizations, i.e. Resolving issues right first time in a call center would often double our agent capacity for free. Pretty cool. So then the question becomes, why did managers incentivize agents to keep calls short? And you know I like my diagrams. This is the last one, I promise. So you can imagine that in the call center, what's happening is this kind of conflict between a head of finance and head of customer success, where the head of finance is limit call length, and the head of customer success is saying, well, don't limit call length. And there's a conflict. You can do one or the other. You can't do both. The question, as you know, is do they have the same goal? If we look back far enough, if we ask what's the goal of the goal of the goal, do they have the same goal? And frankly, I think they do. They're both in a business, but we'll find out, right? So if we limit call length, if we ask the head of finance, why do you want to limit call length? He'll say, well, I want to run a successful call center. And in order to run a successful call center, I need to minimize costs. That's the only thing I can influence as a head of finance. Because call centers are a cost to minimize, they're a cost center. In order to minimize costs, I need to limit call length because keeping calls short means less agents required. If we ask the head of customer success, why are you doing this? Why do you want to do this? He'll say, well, I want to run a successful call center too. And in order to run a successful call center, I need to satisfy customers because satisfy customers improve long-term profitability. That's why we're here. And in order to satisfy customers, we must not limit call length because each customer and issue is unique, so resolution time will actually vary. So again, we have the same goal. So we have the same destination in mind. It's just we're taking two different routes. Again, we need to find where's the invalid assumption. Because if we're both trying to get to the same place, but we've chosen different routes, there must be something that we see differently about reality that's not correct. And I think you probably already know that this isn't necessarily correct. We've seen how it plays out empirically. Keeping calls short doesn't mean less agents required. And if that is the case, we don't need to limit call length. And therefore, actually, in order to minimize costs, we shouldn't limit call length because solving issues on first contact reduces the artificial call volume and therefore the number of agents required, the costs, and encourages the success. Anyway, key points. In order to help others, I believe we need to discern a helpful action from an unhelpful action as parents, as managers. Helpful actions come from valid assumptions about reality. Unhelpful actions come from invalid assumptions about reality. As a father, I told my kid what to do because it's easier to tell my kid how to behave than to teach them how to behave, right? No, that wasn't the case. It led to lying. It led to bullying. Everyone lost. As head of finance, I limited call length because shorter calls mean less agents are required, right? No. We saw how that played out. We saw that it meant that the agents had to put the phone down quickly, frustrated customers, went to our competitors. Several calls were needed to try and help any one customer now. And that just meant more agents, more costs. Everyone lost. That rhymes. The current reality tree helps us see the consequences of our incorrect assumptions, and it's the evaporating cloud that helps us replace an invalid assumption with a valid one. But there's something that haunted me even more as I put this together, which was, as managers and parents, we're usually the source of the problems we see. Whose idea was it? Who chose to make decisions for their child? It was mine. Whose decision was it to limit call length? It was the manager's. So Peter Singer puts it really well. He says, when people who are actually creating a system start to see themselves as the source of their problems, they invariably discover a new capacity to create results they truly desire. I found that haunting. That I create the problems in front of me, but I also found it really bittersweet that I now have the power to solve them. As a manager who made that decision and got it wrong, he can sort it out. As a parent who made the wrong decision, he can sort it out as well. So it's bittersweet. The problems in front of us may be our fault, probably are, but we can solve them. Now what? Books. Great books. They all influence this talk a great deal. Thank you for having me. This is where you can find me. And there's a free book if you like this stuff. So, yeah, thank you very much for having me.
It's still time for questions if anyone has any. So maybe I will break the ice.
Cheers.
So I was reading some time ago a book about actually the same kind of the problem. Maybe not from the point of view two managers trying to manage child or employee or organization. It's more like relation between let's say manager and an employee in terms of like software engineer, yes. And basically the kind of like the motto of the book was like help your manager, help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And there was basically kind of like, which I agree with this, is kind of like you have to understand that both parties have different agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Is the like translating that to the children, yes? Even though, you know, like the goal is the same, they have want to have the same like good life, yes? But for example, at the same time they want to enjoy that life, yes? They don't want to be in that strict rules by parents, yes? So what is your kind of like how would you, do you agree with this or not? Like, what would you say about this? About people having different agenda in, you know, depends on the position.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. You can have to guide me if I misunderstand, Archon. So I kind of believe within organizations and families, what's really great is generally we have the same goal. It may not be the same intermediary goal, but it'd be the same ultimate goal, right? If we weren't, we probably wouldn't be in a relationship or in a part of the same organization. Like if you go all the way to the top organization, it may be, that sounded like a fart, wow. It may be to increase profits now and in the future. But I think there's funny thing is, so one of the conflicts that often is perceived in an organization, I think, is do I keep my staff happy or do I make a profit? You know, do I keep, do I pay our shareholders or something? And it seems really like, oh, it's one or the other. But really, the conflict is often between now and the future, the present and the future, right? If you don't look after your staff, they'll go elsewhere. And unfortunately, they're not on the balance sheet. They're not on your, I can't remember accounting. They're not, they're not listed as one of your assets. So they're not really taken into consideration. But the thing is, if you don't look after them today, they won't be there tomorrow. And if they're not there tomorrow, you can't make your profits and you can't look after your shareholders. So really, there's this kind of symbiosis where, in order to, if you want to, shareholder primacy, by all means, if you want to look after your shareholders first, you can't look after them without looking after your staff. So there's like a necessary condition there. So it's kind of really one and the same, I think. It's just in order for one, you need the other. And it's the same, I guess, with family, right? In order to have a happy family, if your kid's unhappy, then you're not going to be happy.
So it's kind of like understanding agenda of the other party, whoever it is. It could be anybody, like the kids. So the same like the kids. For example, they live, for example, like in the social media world. So for us, and there are some problems associated with this, but
okay.
For example, they said, okay, maybe from different approach. Should you give your kid like mobile phone, smartphone, or not? Yeah. There are obviously your kids want to have a phone, but do you understand their position, or you just only look from your position that you think is dangerous? Yes.
Oh, imagine. It sounds like you could do an evaporating cloud on that, right? And the main thing that you need to start from is what is your goal? Like your goal may be I want a happy family, and I can't have a happy family if they're not safe. and for them to be safe, they can't have a mobile phone. I'm not saying you say that, right? I'm just trying to be the authoritarian dad, right? And then the other side might be, well, I want to be happy. In order to be happy, I need my mobile phone. But then as you pull out the assumptions from that, you might say, actually, you could put safety on mobile phones, and I can have safety in the future and happiness now. So, sorry, I'm not sure. You're making me think, and I like it. Am I actually getting closer to what you're interested in, Martin? But ultimately, you're a family unit, and so you're together for a reason. So you probably have a goal. It's just teasing out the assumptions is the fun bit that underpin either side of the argument. And once you do that, then you can find that creative win-win solution. Yeah, I think. But prove me wrong. That'll be helpful.
The word is assumptions.
Yeah.
Don't make assumptions, which we always have.
Oh yeah, we have to. Otherwise, we can't make any progress. But sometimes it's helpful to debug them. Yeah. Thank you, Martin. That was fun. I felt like I've had a conversation over here. I really enjoyed it, but I'm curious what else.
Just a quick one. Can you go back to the slide?
Oh yeah, of course. This one here. Yeah, of course.
So I've got a question which I think is kind of tangential to what you were saying as well, about competing goals. Because sometimes people don't realize they have the same goal, even within the same organization. Sometimes people have more selfish goals. Like let's say someone who is more of a micromanager, he doesn't realize that causes a lot of downstream issues within their team.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to convince them that that's part of the problem. It requires a degree of self-reflection.
Yeah.
How do you have those?
Yeah. There's probably just something to mention on the side, to guide me if I answer the question right. So there's, I guess, something to mention on the side, which is politics, right? And I believe, I'm still trying to understand it, but I think politics emerges when the goal goes unspoken, and therefore people put their own goal in front of the organizational goal, I think. So just putting that to the side, because that's kind of a systemic problem where the goal of the organization isn't unclear, and therefore managers substituting their own goals in place of the organization. I think I'm still trying to understand it. So putting that to the side, I guess you're talking about if I understood correctly, you're talking about a situation where a manager has a goal but doesn't understand the reality of the situation, therefore doesn't understand how his actions or her actions are taken further away from the goal. Is that right?
Yes. Basically, what you were describing, how does one reflect that their assumption was?
Yeah, so this is where I kind of go back to John Seddon, I think. Tell me if this works or not. So John Seddon, of the Vanguard method, he talked about 3 ways of introducing change into human systems. One is coercion, right? And you can't really coerce your manager, but maybe his manager can coerce him or her. The second way is rational, right? Where you kind of do what I did, right? Where you do presentation, you go, logically, what you should do is this. And this is what we do as consultants, right? You say, logically, this is what you're seeing, and you're rational, and you kind of talk it through. And that helps, but not so much. And then the third one that he puts forward is normative, where the problem with the rational approach is like you're trying to describe the color green to someone who's not seen it before. If they're not they can't see the system and the effects of their decisions, it's hard for them to really understand. Whereas if you put them in it and get them to experience it, and I guess that's where like going to the Gemba and all that stuff comes from. Then the example he gave was he was setting targets for the manager that he was dealing with, because he was John Seddon works with Vanguard Consulting, so he was consulting with a team of a sales team, and he got the manager of the sales team to try and understand that setting incentives, setting targets for the sales team was actually taking them further away from what they were trying to achieve. And he's like, I don't, actually it was a lady, she was like, I don't believe that. So he's like, okay, why don't you listen to the call recordings? And she listened to the call recordings, she understood the reality of why customers weren't signing up to sales, and realized it was completely outside of the control of the salespeople. And they're like, wow, it was completely outside of the control of the salespeople, yet I'm putting their job on the line to reach targets. That makes no sense. And it's just causing them to be unhappy. It's not increasing sales. If anything, it's probably taking us further away because I'm firing really good salespeople. or something like that. And she didn't understand that, and I wouldn't have understood that unless I listened to the call recordings and actually saw it for myself. So that was their approach: get them to be part of the system and see it for themselves. Does that relate to how does that feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. I'm still trying to work it out.
Yeah, anymore? We have still time. If not, then I have a question. Who has any managerial capabilities in their work?
Responsibility. Capability.
Responsibility. Again, well, sorry, my English. So you are parents in this talk, yes? So I understand the rest is kind of like individual contributors who are managed, yes? So you are kids, yeah? I hope both groups get something from the talk, even though it was not typical Java talk, but I really enjoyed it. Yes. So.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much for having me. He's 9 months. Okay. Yeah.
So the drinks and food, I think, is in the corridor. So we have now 30 minutes break. So Simon is here if you have questions you want to ask in private or.
Thank you very much, Simon.
No worries. Thank you for the and food and drinks. So welcome on to the other talk, which is Jakarta E101. I hope this to be quite interactive session. So if you can go, this is like a quiz, let's say, but the only options to answer is yes, no. You can go Menti and put the code or QR code. The more will join. I have only like 50 people who can join. There is no 50, yeah, so I was like, phew, if there is more people, then it would be a problem. But the free version of Menti are only 50 participants in a month. So, well, let's see people joining. You can click here, so it will be like, yeah, lovely. So basically what it will be about, I will ask question about Jakarta E, and you will answer yes, no, and then I will talk if I agree or disagree with you. So when people, everybody join, or do you need more time? More time? So when you join, I will say a few words about myself. My name is Marcin. As some of you know, I am one of the LJC organizer, but I feel more like a LJC member. I joined over 10 years ago. I have to look what I talk. Yes, I'm a aspiring speaker, as you probably would see. It will be a lot like, I forgot, because I'm just learning, yes. But this event was created basically for people like me who just want to be better at their skill. I am all good with joining. Anyone needs more time? Again, let's see how many people joined. 22, yeah, it's quite good. Yeah, so I'm happy. I'm software engineer at Icon Solution, which is fintech company. We work in the payments, but different payments, more like bank-to-bank payments, not like vendor payments, like card payments. Great company to work, kind of like with your talk. We have very well-defined goals in our company, and founders who are still kind of like day-to-day involved in the running company, they really pay attention to actually employ right people, which is difficult task. But I think so far they do a great job with this. Great place to work. So and we are hiring. So if you are interested, just give me a shout and we can talk about it. Yes, husband and dad again. But my kids are quite a bit older than the 9 months, 20 and 15, but they are great. Yeah, but I make a lot of mistakes as a parent, so probably it's too late for me. And also my DIY person, not by choice, but by need. If you look, my garden right now is just complete mess. But that's how I spend my weekends. And finally, everything I'm saying today is just opinion. You can agree, you can disagree, but it's my opinion, and probably in some points I will be wrong. Okay, and I forgot to that. I'm actually sitting in the steering committee of Jakarta E for the last few years as a LJC representative. So probably I know a bit, not much technical. It's more, the steering committee is more like political place where big boys and girls join to argue about, what is their goal. Okay, so this is the first one. If you could answer, I don't really know how this works. So, oops, not that, sorry. We go to the second question, so probably if I click, yes. Is Jakarta descendant of Jakarta E? Yes or no? Okay, I thought this would be the easiest question to ask, but yes, actually it's yes. So, how many of you know about Java EE? Okay, so I see there are a few Node Java developers in the room. So Java EE has was like Java 2 added some enterprise features, which was kind of like separate. But I don't want to talk too much about history. We are in the future. But basically, around 2010, after Oracle acquired Java, they kind of like the same situation was Java SE. Was they lost interest in Java EE, and it was very, very stale. There are different companies, communities, people who were really involved in Java EE. So they go to Oracle and ask them, hey, if you are not interested anymore in evolving, developing Java EE, just give it to the community. And actually, Oracle agreed, which it said like, you know, it was one of the biggest transfer of property from like the vendor to the open source project, to the open source community rather. And now, but there were some problems with that because Oracle is owner of the Java trademark, so they didn't agree to steal the project to be named Java. So community come with the name Jakarta. Probably most of people who are aware about Java, they are aware also of the problem with the space name change, which is haunting us even to this day. I don't know, is let's say 6-7 years, and is still hunting. But it was not decision of the Jakarta community, Oracle. They have rights to the Java trademark, but still, you know, they are not the evil in this story because they actually still contributing to Jakarta EE, and they actually give it to the community. They could say just no. Yes, so yes, those people who say yes, they were right. So the next question, that question number 2. Bam. Is Jakarta EE open source project? I should add, which if you listen me careful, I already say so. Who is sleeping? Who say no? Or you tried to troll me? Yes, I think. So yes. Okay, I forgot about this criticism, and of course, you know, let's talk just quickly about it. So from the time of Java, there was a lot of criticism related to it. Some of them, like application servers, are very slow and resource heavy. AGB required a lot of configuration. Java is not innovative. But I think that's changed. But let's see how other people think about it. Yes. So is Jakarta EE open source? Yes. Yes, it is open source, and this talk is not really focused on technicalities. You won't learn about, you know, how to use some code from it. It's more about the open source project, how it is structured. What Jakarta EE actually means. So Jakarta EE project is 2 things: is actually specifications and is working group, which basically is an open source project held in the Eclipse organization. So as you can see, open source, you can go to GitHub account, see all the code over there, all repositories, yes, let's see. But what is more interesting, I think, is members. So anyone can contribute to Jakarta EE. As you can see, there are big names, big names. I want to make you aware about this one because it will be relevant. Hey, there is LJC as well. So that's why I become like the member as well through the LJC, which is again part of the story. Why to be involved. Another few communities, yes. Oracle is still here. So yes, anyone can join, contribute, but we will talk about it later. So it's also organized around different committees. Let's talk about what is next on the slide. As I say, it's community efforts. There are vendors, JACs, and individuals working together to push it forward. Whoops, not this one. So next question. I press enter. That doesn't work. Question number 3. Is Jakarta EE a framework? In the framework, I understand something like Spring Boot, Quarkus, I don't know, Halidon, Tommy. So 18 people say yes. I say no. It's not a framework. So Jakarta EE is not concerned with implementations. So Jakarta EE is about specifications, it's about standards. So this group of people I showed before, or organizations, work together to create a standard, which then different vendors, different projects go in and implement those specifications. Some of the example of those specifications, so for example, who use JPA, who use I don't know, let's say about Jackson, yes, as a JSON binding, yes, who is using this is tricky because like even in Spring Boot, yes, who is using Spring Boot, yes. So this is kind of like, okay, but who thinks, another question, who thinks is using Jakarta EE in their work? Don't be shy, don't, even if you are wrong, then it's good to be wrong, yes, we learn our lessons, yes, but that's for the future, yes. Okay, so there are specifications, which kind of like you can think of standard. HTML is a standard. JavaScript is standard as well. CSS is standard. I don't know. What is standard as well? So let's say today the word is standard. I don't know. How the size of the screw is also a standard, yes, because if there is no standard, you would have to have, I don't know, hundreds of screwdrivers or keys to do the job, yes. So the world is running on standards, yes. And the same is with software, even because this provide the way to interoperability between different systems. This is one advantage. Another one is kind of like, let's say, vendor agnostic. So let's say you can have different implementations, but your code should be independent of it. So you, for example, you run your code on, let's say, Whitefly, you should be able to, with minimal changes, move it to Glassfish, which I will talk a bit later. So that's what the Jakarta is about, not about the implementations. This is vendors, related to vendors, but also in Jakarta is something like, what's it called? Like default? No, it's not the right word. Like the default implementation, which say, hey, this standard is actually must make sense, yes? And the effort of this is another project of Eclipse, which actually Glassfish is, I forgot the word, reference implementation, yes? So actually the work on the Glassfish, which has been also donated by Oracle to the Eclipse Foundation, where is it? I had it. Okay, doesn't matter, it's not here, so I won't look. But yeah, if you are interested about it, it's here. So standard is the API, like what we call as a developers, but what underlying of that API, let's say implementation of that API underlying code is implementation. So this is done by vendors, E4J project, but also other project which I already saw. So if you use JPA, probably you use also Hibernate, yes? So Hibernate implements JPA. Welt is CDI. I don't know who knows about Welt. Yeah, so Jackson is another. Jackson is what implements one of the standards, which is JSON binding, yes? Jakarta JSON binding. That's probably the correct name. So if we go back here, so as you can see, there's 46 specifications right now, and they are divided into 3 profiles. The core profile, which is the minimal, is used, for example, for my micro profile, but this is also just like the minimum you can create, like microservice. This is needs, to just create with Jakarta E micro profile web service. So some of the frameworks implement that, and also micro profile use it. The other one, and this is the newest profile, yes, it was introduced in Jakarta E before that. I don't know exactly the date, but it was introduced in Jakarta E. This is web profile. It's more extensive, more platforms are compatible with this profile. That's probably a better word than saying implement. So you see, there are more specifications, but also this is kind of like, so Jakarta E11 will be released. Actually, these 2 profiles are already released, and we're working on the final one, which is platforms. That's why there is still no picture for Jakarta E11. This is kind of like Java Jakarta E10. And it's the most extensive, like you see, this is the core web profile, and there are more to create the platform. But still, there is, I think, around 30 of those, but 43. So not all the specifications are included in the profiles. Actually, every specification is developed independently. There are teams who are working on it. Jakarta is just an umbrella project, which we kind of like design the path where we want to go, but every specification is developed individually. There is like a lot of independence from like the Jakarta E. There are different release cycles for each. Some specifications are more popular. They have different needs. So even the release is not really bind to what we told them to do, or even more, we are not telling them to do something. They just, like children, they can do whatever they want. Try. Sorry. Okay, next question. And if you have any question to me, just ask. Yes. I really would like to make it quite interactive. If you disagree with me, the same as I say, I probably what I already said is a lot of wrong. So yes. So if the Jakarta is not framework, is it? Should I press? Oh, something wrong. Should be out 4. So if it's not a framework, then is it application server? Probably most of you know about, I don't know, Wildfly, Glassfish, WebSphere. No, probably I'm too young. So no, and that's the correct answer. Probably no. As I say, it's about specification only, not implementation. So yes, it's not application server, but again, vendors are responsible for that. Oh, this one is now in community. Is Glassfish. So now it's community responsible, and also it's like reference implementation of Jakarta. Wi-Fi Payara. Anyone knows Payara? At least by name, because they sponsor some of our events. So it's shame that our members cannot recognize it, but they also have like Jakarta EE in the word compatible server, application server, Open Liberty. Anyone is aware about Open Liberty? So those who are not, this is old WebSphere, I think. WebSphere is old IBM. They just rebranded, make it microservice, kind of, but it's underneath is still WebSphere. Because I was working for a while, and more documentation I was finding, on internet, which sent me to WebSphere documentation, then Open Liberty. Yes, so to actually call the solution like Jakarta EE compatible application server, you have to go through the process, which involves that you have to run all TCK tests. Yeah. So Jakarta 11 should be released last year, but there is ongoing effort to actually update TCK. So everybody familiar what TCK is? Test compatibility kit, which is like there are tests like unit tests or integration tests, test suite, which says, hey, this is, for example, this is JPA, and that's all test pass. That means that this implementation can be, say, hey, I implement JPA with everything is like that. Let's say the server, when they say, before they can say, hey, I'm compatible with Jakarta EE, let's say 10, they have to pass all the TCK tests. And why Jakarta 11 is delayed so much? Because there is, I don't know, thousands of tests. I don't know, but a lot of them. And teams decide to modernize it, which I think only like 20 tests left. This, tricky one, which they still have to go through and fix before basically we can release the platform one. For the web profile and core. That's why they released, because we don't need them anymore. Yes, and here on the page you can check those products are actually, I think it's Jakarta E10 compatible, yes. More, you can see some names, you know, ready. Okay, so next question. We are on 4, yes, so we should go to 5. E. Is Jakarta E a Spring competitor? Ooh. I'm surprised that as people answered this question right, in my mind, because there is a lot of, you know, like questions which I argue on internet, like people say, should I choose Jakarta E or Spring, which is the wrong question. Yeah, you can say that. It's, again, Jakarta E versus Spring, it's not the right question. If you ask question Quarkus versus Spring Boot, for example, that's the correct question, because there are two competing technologies, which I mean, technologies is wrong, frameworks, which fight for the same market niche, and behind them there are vendors, and that's why I also pointed on the like members. Actually, VMware is member of the Jakarta E, and they are owners of Spring. So they are rogues who want to, you know, destroy the Jakarta E from the inside if they are competitors, or actually they work with community and for the beta, yes, for the beta of Spring, but also, you know, for the whole for the whole Java ecosystem. But actually, Spring has been created because of what I say, like the criticism of Java EE, that is bloated, it's not easy to work, and that's how Spring has been created, like taking the good parts from Java EE, adding some other things, and that's probably how developers love it. And also another thing how Jakarta EE can kind of like compete with Spring is about standards. So Jakarta EE, as you can see, there is a lot of vendors, communities, individuals involved, and they make sure that everybody are happy with the standard, yes? So that we're doing something in the standard way. That's why also, you know, if you develop something using standards, probably it won't break, which is really bad example with the Jakarta namespace. But again, sorry, it has happened. But you know, probably if you run your tests, that was like, it's not my sentence, I steal it from someone else. Like if you run your code from 10 years ago after you change the namespace, with today's compatible Jakarta E compatible product, it should still work, because standards are changing slowly, they are stable. When in the case of like the Spring, you are on the verge of the one vendor. Maybe they will go, I don't believe it, but let's say they will go bust tomorrow or out of the business. If your code is only like based on Spring, you are left with, well, probably for a few years you will be okay, but then you will have to change your code. Yeah, so this is like, that's why I believe, but probably this is the next slide, why Jakarta is important, which probably also leads us to the next question, which is question 6. Should I care about Jakarta EE as a Java developer? Let's see. So probably I already convinced you because I heard a lot about no. Who cares? Spring has 90% of market. Who use Springs again? Like 90% of developers use Spring, especially like UK. In the mainland Europe, is Jakarta EE solutions are more popular, but still. But as I say, this is a standard. Yes, this is kind of like, because they are involved not only vendors but also community, JAX. We can dictate kind of like, hey, we want to move Jakarta in this direction. We have a say. With Spring, obviously, they listen to the customers, yes. But again, it's only one organization. You are on the verge of one organization, and yeah, if they do something bad, you are left. Again, 90% of developers are left with something they maybe won't be happy anymore, yes. Because we know examples, yes. For example, they change licensing, yes, or charge more, start charging for Spring. Who knows? If you work with Jakarta EE, that should be happy. You can go to another vendor and use their product. So I think we should care. Sorry. We should care, and we should answer another question. But first, please lead the board. Who agreed the most with me? Ribbit? Who's Ribbit? Don't be shy. I probably would like to marry you because you just agree with me on everything. Who's Ribbit? Come on, don't be shy. I want to know you. No. The price is you can have a beer or just listen to me. Anyway, question 7. It actually start working now. I don't know. Is Jakarta EE innovative? Ooh, split. Nice. Okay, so to make it more interactive, why not? Who could say no and just give me arguments why not?
When was the last version released? And when was it planned to be released?
So last version was released 2 years ago. Supposed to be last year, but then, like as I say,
Where is Jakarta EE AI?
good point. Good point.
That's really
So blockchain, another one. Any more? Huh? No? So that's weak. Only 2. I can take it.
how does it play with draw?
So it depends on the vendor. I think the Helidon, which is one of the compatibility implementation, actually use Graph.
Both of the Spring competitors are quite aggressive about compilation. One, I think Micronaut is one of them. The other
Yeah. But Micronaut, they were in the in Jakarta EE group, but they just resigned. They decide, But Helidon is Oracle one, which also is they have like native compilation. But Jakarta EE again, it has nothing to do with implementation. I think also Open Liberty they do something in this regard. Quarkus is another one which they are not compatible, but they use some of the specifications of Jakarta EE.
You actually answer when you say there's no relation with that orthogonal, then fine. That's it. Because I was wondering if there's any concern or any work on just covering Jakarta EE spec, and also making that, that there's a message that can also be native compilation. But
yeah.
You just answer.
So I disagree, but definitely they can be done more. In the past, that's why definitely Jakarta EE community was fighting with Oracle to move it to open source, because to make it actually the other one. Did I say about it? Yeah, maybe I talk about this ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Even if you think you don't use Jakarta EE, you use it. If you try, if you use Java EE and you try to move to update, I don't know, for example, to Spring 4, you will see that you are using Jakarta EE, because you would have to update the Java.
We have a whole product running on Tomcat, and I didn't realize until 5 years ago that it was actually fully Java EE, Jakarta EE.
Tommy EE.
Tomcat.
Tomcat implements only one specification, which is servlet. So anyone, there are some cases which is like reactive Spring, then you might not use. But if you use Spring Boot MVC or Spring MVC, you are using Jakarta EE, because it implements servlet specification, which is like most ubiquitous probably technology in like the web sphere. That's what I was saying. Vendor natural, it's standard. I covered that. As you see, I'm aspiring speaker, not the very experienced one. Yes, so as I start talking about it, could be more, but they happen innovation, new specifications coming. In Jakarta 11, there is data, which coming back to the Spring versus Jakarta EE, 90% of the specification is basically Spring data. So you will have, if you use Jakarta EE API, you would have now repository, for example, yes. So it's just copy. Another one is NoSQL, but it didn't make it to Jakarta EE 11. There was some political issue, let's call it like that, because JPA didn't want to host code from NoSQL. They say, and we will do our way, and there is some compatibility problems. That's why it didn't make it. Yes, I think Jakarta 11 requires Java 17. It's not we try to make it 21, but vendors say, hey, this is too fast. Our customers are slower. So you have to use it for Jakarta 11, use in Java 17. And in the next updated specifications, please use a lot of the new features. I know, for example, like the record is very prevalent everywhere. And if you think that Jakarta EE is not innovative, I have something for you. So this is the interest group in Eclipse Foundation, which actually tried to think about the future of Jakarta EE. And you see, we are part of it as well. And one of our members, where are you, Abraham? Yes, Abraham is more involved in the working, but it's basically what someone say AI, yes? This is actually because how standards happen, yes? most of the time is like there's one company. Now most likely is Spring because they have so much. They define something is, this is the way to do. Like two events before we have about open telemetry, and that was the same. There were two companies competing standards, and they try to make it like the one. So this is the most common way something becomes standard. Vendor come with something like, for another example is from outside of programming, is Blu-ray versus Edge something, which was like Microsoft. Yes, there were two competing technologies. Blu-ray won, and now it's a standard. Some companies make a lot of money from this because they, for example, I think Samsung is, but Nokia is another example. Even though they don't sell any more cell phones, they were so big in the mobile, not only in the cell phones but the whole infrastructure. They give it to the other companies. Use this. This is the standard, and they even forced to do this, but they are paid basically by, hey, you use my standard. There is like yearly fee for that. Yes, Samsung is another one which I know. So yeah, but this group is like, hey, where we should look next? Yes, one of them is actually AI. What was the? I can remember now, but definitely, if you opinionated that, hey, we should move faster, join this group, and they have meetings. I don't know how often, but we can talk about it in more detail. So we try to make it more innovative. Yes, it's the process from basically happening for I don't know how many years, nothing. We have this Jakarta 8 release, then Jakarta 9, which was basically the namespace change. Jakarta 8 was kind of like the same as Java 8, Java 8. 10 was the first feature release. Like they were added new features. I don't remember if there was new specification release, but if we go back, let's see. Updated. Those all specifications has been updated for the first time in, I don't know, 10 years. They were updated. New specification CDI little. So this is a lot of push to this, make it like something the same like you have dependency management in Spring, small, not that bloated, just what you need, yes? And yes, I was talking about new data. There is a lot of hype around this. Okay, the next question. And someone agree, want to discuss more about innovation? Peter, the internet is slow. So the next one is there a link between Jakarta E and micro profile? Okay. Why yes? Who want to say why yes? Why not? Okay, that's argument for yes or no? Because yes, okay. Yeah, I agree. Which I will talk about this, but you are right. Who say no? Don't be shy. Come on. Okay. So there is basically microprofile has been created because the Java EE situation when there was no innovations and some people, vendors, decide, hey, we create our own organization, which is called micro-profile. With the same goal, there are standards. But yes, I think I mentioned this already, but core profile is used by micro-profile. In their APIs, they basically use that. So there is a link, but as I say, is response to JD issue. There is not enough, because my opinion is that there is no place anymore for microprofile. With Jakarta is, we work in the same space now. We want to be two organizations to kind of like addressing the same problem, standardizing Java enterprise. But there's a lot of politics, in my opinion, again. Some vendors have stronger position in micro profile. Some have weaker, some stronger in the Jakarta EE. But to be honest, most of the people who work in one project, they also work in another. Quarkus is more focused on micro profile. They really pushing, is probably also IBM with the Open Liberty, but Quarkus, I think, is the biggest one. But I don't know if I have. Yeah. So microprofile was also thinking like when the microprofile was there, and then like moving fast, breaking, thinking the standard, maturing then. And the idea was when the specification became mature, it will move to Jakarta EE. For the last, I don't know, 7 years, that didn't happen. There was some trials with config, which everybody agrees is very, very mature specification. I have to look into the time. Well, I should finish, so I have to be quick. But first attempt was failing, but now they are actually discussing that move everything to Jakarta EE. Jakarta EE has bigger budget, more people involved. So there are discussions about actually merging. What will happen with this, I don't know. And this is the last one. Why no one told me that? Who's organizing this event? Not telling me that I'm over time. So can I be involved in the Jakarta EE working group? Yes. Then why not? Why not? Yes. So for now, right now, there are 3 people from London Java community are involved. We are kind of like the mentors for some specifications. There is a lot of work. So if you want to be involved, maybe that would be, do I want to be involved in Jakarta working group? Yes. So yes, please. Maybe that is something as our new London Java community can be better at contributing to open source projects. And that's all from me. No. Leaderboard. And you have to tell me who you are. Alex? Still Rabbit. Ribbit. Who's Ribbit? Come on. You forgot your nickname. Because they make, like the random names, but it's you. Okay, well done. But doesn't mean you are right. You just agree with me, and I'm not saying that I'm right, yes. But yeah, it's nice. Good. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Are there any Jakarta implementations in Kotlin?
No.
No?
No, as far as I'm aware, Kotlin doesn't contribute, or in more specific